Okay, hello people, Mr. Tankaulo. So now let's do our first question. It's from Northwest 2016. So now let's check. Let's say in question 3, given the equation f of x equals negative 3 all over x minus 2 and then plus 1. Okay, so now from the given equation we can see that our a is less than 0. So if a is less than 0, our graph will lie in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4, which will be formed by what? Our asymptote. Okay, so now let's check our first question, 3.1. So 3.1 says what? Calculate the coordinates of the y-intercept. Okay, y-intercept, we're told in grade 10 that for y-intercept x is what? 0. Y-intercept is the point that lies on what? The y-axis. Okay, so now let's say y is equals to negative 3 all over 0 minus 2 plus 1. 3 over 2 plus 1 is 5 over 2. And then our coordinates will be 0 is to 5 over 2. So that's our y-intercept. We're done with the y-intercept here too. Then we move to 3.2. 3.2 says we should find what? Calculate the coordinates of the x-intercept. Okay, so your x-intercept, you must be good with your algebra. X-inter, y must be what? 0. Okay, so now let's solve. 0 is equals to negative 3 all over x minus 2 plus 1. Okay, so first thing I'll transpose this negative 1 that side. So I'll have negative 1, which is equals to negative 3 over x minus 2. Okay, so now we'll have what? We have to cross multiply. So this will multiply that, and then that will multiply that. So negative into x minus 2 is equals to negative 3. Someone can divide by that negative 1. Someone can open the bracket. Okay, let's just open the bracket. So we have negative 1 here. Okay, so now let's distribute. Plus 2 equals to negative 3. Then our negative x is equals to negative 5. Then we remove that negative. Then our x is equals to 5. Then our coordinates will be 5 is to 0. Okay, so now 3.3. Sketch the graph of f in your answer book. Okay, in this case we don't have the answer book. Clearly showing the asymptotes and the intercept with the axis. Okay, so now 3.3, they're saying we should show what? Our asymptote. Here's our first asymptote, vertical. We'll say x minus 2 is equals to 0. Then our x is equals to 2. Then the horizontal, y is equals to q, which is 1. Okay, now let's try and sketch. Let's sketch draw the x-axis and the y-intercept, Cartesian plane. Okay, so now when you're sketching a graph here too, we'll start with our asymptotes. So now let's start with our asymptotes. Our asymptote is x is equals to 2. X equals to 2 is vertical. So x is equals to 2. Please, we don't need to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're adults, ne? So we just predict that our x equals to 2 will be here. Our x is equals to 2. And then our y is equals to 1. Our y is equals to 1. Now let's write here y is equals to 1. And then our x is equals to 2. Okay, so now let's check our intercept. Remember, our x-intercept was 5 is to 0, and then our y-intercept is 0 is to 5 over 2. 5 over 2 is the same as 2,5. So 2,5 is above our horizontal asymptote, so it's above 1, so it's somewhere here. So please, you don't just put a point, you must indicate the point, which is 0 is to 5 over 2. And then we have our x-intercept, which is what? 5 is to 0. Can you see? We said what? Our graph will lie on which quadrants? In quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. Why? Because the value of a is negative. So here's our graph. It gets closer and closer to our asymptote, and closer to our asymptotes, but to never touch. Okay, the other part gets closer and closer to our asymptote, but to never touch. Finished. So that's how you sketch the graph of what? Your hyperbola. Okay, so now let's check our next question. Our next question says what? Write down the range of f. Remember, we said when you're writing a range of a hyperbola, the range, domain in the range, we use what? The asymptote. So we're looking for a range. We'll use what? The horizontal asymptote. So in this case, our range 3.4. We'll say this graph will touch these other y values except for one y value. So y is an element of real numbers, but y won't be equals to the horizontal asymptote, which is what? 1. Okay, so now let's check 3.5. 3.5, the same what? Another function fh is formed by translating f 3 units to the right and 4 units downwards. 4 units down. Write down the equation of what? Of h. Okay, not a problem. 3.5. Okay, so now let's check. In order to get h of x, what are we supposed to do to f? We should shift f. Remember, when you shift to the left or right, we are affecting x. When you're shifting up or down, we are affecting what? Y values. So we're shifting 3 units to the right. So we're told that if we're shifting to the right, we'll say x minus 3. Then we say plus what? Is it plus 4? We say down. So we say minus 4. So now I'll do this thing so that it will make sense. I'll write the equation of f here. F of x was what? Negative 3 over x minus 2 plus 1. Plus 1. Plus 1. So now let's do this thing. Our h of x. Where I see x, I should substitute what? Where I see x, I should substitute with x minus 3. So it will be negative 3 all over x. Let's do this thing. X minus 3. Then minus 2, the one that was on f, plus 1. Then after that, what we do? We drop down by 4 units. So now can you see? Okay. So now our new equation will be what? Negative 3 over x minus 5 minus 3. So this will be the equation of what? Of h after that translation of 3 units to the right and 4 units down. Okay. Okay, so now let's try our next question. 3.6. They're saying for which values of x is h of x less than or equals to negative 4. So we're looking for a part where the graph of h is below or is at negative 4, where the y values are below negative 4 or at negative 4. Okay, less than negative 4 or at negative 4. Okay, so now let's check. So in this question, even if it's 3 marks, I'll try and draw the graph of what? Of h. Okay, so now let's do this thing. Let's get our for x-intercept. For x-intercept, let's check our x-intercept. 0 is equals to negative 3 over x minus 5 minus 3 transpose that side. 3 is equals to negative 3 over x minus 5 all over 1. Okay, so now let's check cross multiply. 3 into x minus 5 is equals to negative 3. Then let's divide both sides by 3. Then now x minus 5 will be equals to negative 1. Therefore x is equals to 4. Okay, so x is equals to 4, so it's now 4 is 2 0. Okay, and now let's check our y-intercept. Our y-inter will say x is equals to 0, then y is equals to negative 3 over x minus 5 minus 3. What is the answer? Negative 3 over negative 5 minus 3, which is negative 12 over 5. Okay, so but we know when it comes to that negative 4, this negative 4, how do we get this negative 4? If you can check here, x-intercept of f, if we drop it down, remember they said we should drop it down by 4 units and then shift it by 8 units, so it's minus 4, then shift it 3 units to the right. So our point would be what? 8 is to -4. And that's why we get this -4. So I'm saying, we can use the graph of f if we want. Okay, so now let's check. Let me erase that part. Okay, so now let me sketch the graph of h. The graph of h, our x-axis and y-axis. So we have our asymptote. Our asymptotes now, x will be 5 and then y will be 3. X is equals to 5. X is equals to 5 and then y is equals to -3. Okay, so now let's check. We have what? 4 is to 0, then the other one, -12 over 5. -12 over 5, -12 over 5, the same as -12.4, so it's above -3. 0 is to -12 over 5. So here's our graph. Okay, here's our graph, and the other part will be here. Doesn't have points, but it will be here. Okay, so now we are saying what? That -4. If you want, maybe if you don't know how you get that -4, you can take the equation of h. Where is h? Where is h? The equation of h. Take the equation of h and equate what? To -4. You can say -3 over x minus 5 minus 3 is equals to what? -4. And then our -3 over x minus 5 is equals to -1 over 1. Then you cross multiply. -x plus 5 is equals to -3. And then our x is equals to what? +8. But I was saying you can also do it in this way, because we can see if we take this point, x-intercept of f, and drop it down by 4 units, then take it to the right by 3 units. So if we drop it down by 4 units, our y value will be -4. If we take it to the right by 3 units, our x value will be what? 8. Okay, cancel it. Okay, so now let's indicate the point. So the point says what? 8 is to -4. So where can we get that point? Somewhere here. 8 is to -4. So our question says h of x must be less than or equals to -4. So which part is that? This part. Okay, so now how do we answer our question? From this 8, in order for our graph to be below -4, where are we supposed to go? We should move to the left. But can we continue moving to the left? No, we should stop at what? At x is equals to 5, which is what? Our asymptote. Okay, so now it means that our graph, in order for it to be below -4, it should be between what? 5 and 8. So our x will be between what? 5 and 8. So from that 5, where are we supposed to go? Move to the right. So x must be more than 5. But x must be also be what? Less than or equals to 8. So now why are we excluding 5? It's because 5 is the asymptote. Why are we including 8? They said less than or equals to -4. When the x value is 8, our y value is what? -4. Okay. So if you don't want to do this one, you can do this too. We can interpret our f. We can use this thing using what? F of x. Because they said -4. How did they get this -4? By dropping f what? Downwards by 4 units, then shifting to the right. So now the graph of h will be like this. The graph of h will be like this. Okay, so it will be what? 8 is to -4. Okay, so now if they're saying h of x is less than or equals to -4, which means at f of x must be less than or equals to what? 0. Okay, so now let's try and answer our question. So where is f less than or equals to 0? This part. Okay, So in order for our graph to be less than or equal to 0, our x value should be between what? 5 and our asymptote, which is what? 2. So from our asymptote to the right, then from 5 to the left. Okay, so now let's check. So x must be what? Must be more than 2, but less than or equal to what? 5. Don't forget, this is the solution for what? For f. Then when you go to h, what are we supposed to do? We must add 3 to each and every value. Therefore now we'll say what? X must be more than 2 plus 3, less than or equals to, what did I say? 3, and it must be 5. This must be 5. 5 plus 3. Another end x will be more than 5, but less than or equals to 8. But I'll advise you to sketch the graph of h, then interpret the graph of h. I think it will be better in that way. Okay, so now our last question says determine the equations of what? The asymptotes of k of x, which is equal to 3x minus 5 all over x minus 1. Okay, so this is a hyperbola function, but it is written in a different form. Okay, so now let's answer our question. 3.7, it says k of x is equal to 3x minus 5 all over x minus 1. Let's check. So much question le must answer bonus in two ways of answering this question. First one, we'll make our numerator to be the same as what? The denominator. That's the first method that we'll use to ensure that on our numerator we have what? X minus 1. So we should do something with that 3x. Okay, so I'll try and add maybe 2 more questions similar to this one. Okay, so now let's check. K of x will be equals to, so how can we use this 3x and get x minus 1? Since we're having that 3, so I should be able to take out a common factor of 3, then I'll be left with what? X minus 1. Okay, so I'll do this thing. I'll say this thing the same as 3x minus 3. Can you see now I've changed my equation? I've now said minus 3. So what should I do to this minus 3 in order to get what? Minus 5. I should do what? I should subtract 2. So I'll take these 2 and group them together. All over x minus 1. Okay, so now what do you see on our numerator? We can be able to take out a common factor of 3, and then we'll have to x minus 1 minus 2 all over x minus 1. And then from our fractions, we are told that if you're having a plus b plus c all over d, this thing is the same as a over d plus b over d plus c over d. Okay, so now let's check. So it means that how many terms do we have on our numerator? We're having what? 2 terms. So each and every term must be divided by what? By x minus 1. So I'll have 3 into x minus 1 all over x minus 1 minus 2 all over x minus 1. Okay, so now our k of x will be equals to, this will cancel that, and then we'll have 3 minus 2 over x minus 1. Okay, therefore let's try and write it. K of x will be equals to minus 2 over x minus 1 plus 3. So now we have managed to write our equation from this form, ax maybe plus b all over x maybe plus c, to this form of y is equals to a over x plus p plus q. So from that part, remember our question says what? We should write down the equations of what? The asymptote. So the first one, x is equals to 1, and the other one, y is equals to 3. Okay, so that's our first method. Second method, we can use is synthetic. We can use synthetic. Let me see about the side. We can use synthetic. So since x minus 1 is a divisor, okay, so I'll say what? So I want to know what if I were to substitute negative 1, positive 1 where you see x, what should be the remainder. Then I'm done. So now let's check our synthetic. So I'll put positive 1 here, and then I'll put the numbers 3 minus 5. Then I'll say what? 0. So what do I do? I add. So 3 plus 0 is 3. Then what do I do with this 2? I multiply. 3 times 2. 3 times 1 is what? It's 3. And then I add 5 minus 5 plus 3, which is minus 2. So now, what does this thing tell us? It tells us that x minus 2, x minus 1 goes to 3x minus 5 3 times. The remainder, this minus 2 is our remainder. Remainder what? Negative 2. Therefore, our Ku of x is the same as, it goes to 3x minus 5 how many times? 3 times. Remainder what? 2 over x minus 1. Therefore, our asymptote is x is equals to 1, and then the other one, y is equals to 3. Okay. So now let me try and add 2 more questions. Okay, so now let's try these 2 questions. I'll use the first method. Okay. So what did I say? I just look at my denominator. I should try and make my numerator to have x minus 5. So this side I should try to have x plus 2 on top. Okay. So now this one, f of x, I'll try to say x minus 5. So now you ask yourself, what should you do to this minus 5 in order to get what? 4. I should add what? Should add 9. I'll say plus 9 all over x minus 5. So I take x minus 5 as 1/10. So I'll have x minus 5 all over x minus 5 plus 9 over x minus 5. Therefore, I'll have this will be 1. So I'll have 9 over x minus 5 plus 1. Then we're done. This is f of what? X. Let's try this side. So in this case, we're having what? Negative 2x. But now we want what? X plus 2. So now what should we do? So on top there, we'll have what? You know, to have x plus 2. So I should have 4. So that when I take out the common factor of that 2, I'll have what? X plus 2. Okay. So now I'll have minus 2x minus 4. Can you see? Why is my 4 negative? So that when I take out a common factor of a negative, I'll be left with what? A positive. Then you ask yourself now, what should we do to this negative 4 in order to get 6? So I should add what? What should I add? Should I add 10? I should add 10 all over x plus 2. So now let's take out a common factor. Minus 2 into x plus 2 plus 10 all over x plus 2. Now we'll have what? Minus 2 into x plus 2 all over x plus 2 plus 10 all over x plus 2. Okay. Then x plus 2 will cancel x plus 2. I'll be left with what? 10 over x plus 2 minus 2. Then this will be the equation of what? Of h. So that's how we do it. Thank you.